is going to come out in early 2028. So she just got that accepted. She just had a poem up at Rattle like yesterday or something. So Jennifer's like doing well right now. So please welcome Jennifer Blackledge.
One of these days I'll be self-sufficient here. Monstrously tall.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Thanks. Okay. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna do. I think those of you who've been here have heard me talk about my word of the day poems. So you're probably sick of those by now, but I have a couple more word of the day poems for you.
Oh, yes.
And this one's called the word of the day is Zeitgeber, which means like some sort of natural event that triggers another event. So anyway, the word of the day is Zeitgeber. Spring means I have to go outside again and pretend to like it. Put on the yoke of growth for growth's sake, socialize in the hard sun, eat with bees, shave and paint my toes. The tyranny of good weather is here. Seeds tick like time bombs in their paper sleeves, pose looped like an open mouth mid-harangue. Soon I'll have to deadhead daily, prune, rip out intrusive roots from a mistake we made years ago. We had no money then for landscaping, so despite all warnings, we planted ivy to soften the bare brick square with green. It made the house look like it had lungs, breathing softly with the breeze. This year, the cold wind and rain let me stay in until June and ignore the ivy that slithered around the hydrangeas' necks, cracked the bottom step open, and even licked the inside of the electrical box with its sneaky tongues. The whole house choked out by unchecked growth. My daughters used to watch a show called Life After People that left me breathless at puzzled pets in packs, foraging for food, buildings brought down lightning fast by plants and weather, kudzu, stinking sumac, water. Everything was swallowed at 10x speed, first the garden paths and mulch, chicken wire, stone walls, every meager defense that kept non-pets like squirrels, boars, birds, and grubs from stealing meals. Then it was roads, schools, ships, and skyscrapers, glass punched out by branches, layers of bird poop thick on desks, terrifying like stars when you stare at them too long on clear nights. Time to save some panicled hydrangeas, armed with gloves, rake, clippers, sunblock, until October releases me and I can concede to entropy, back to my brick and plaster fort where I can ignore ice pulling the eaves troughs down, let it all go to seed. Spring though, my neighbor waves me over to tell me his dog already killed 3 groundhogs, 2 of them babies. I hold my hand up like a visor to see him hoist them like trophies outlined against the sky.
Jennifer, great poems. We got Mitch Van Acker next.
Oh wait, is this the same Mitch that was voted most daddy last Sunday?
Yep.
What?
It's true.
Don't flatter him.
Oh no, he flattered himself.
I did. Like I said, Kat, coming from you, that's high praise indeed.
Thank you.
I'll do a poem that has something to do with a word. No. Sorry, this is a poem called A Lesson in Ancient Greek. It features a word galaxes, which comes from the Greek word for milk, galect. And it kind of plays upon a myth in which the Milky Way was produced by Hercules sucking at the breast of Hera. Hercules was a bastard child, so they thought, well, if we name him after her, Heracles, Kleos is honor, so Hera's honor, and we had Hercules breastfed, then maybe it'll work out. It didn't. But anyway, this is the poem, sorry. A lesson in ancient Greek. Foil bake over fire as the sun fell. Wild garlic soft and fragrant in the blazing oil. Charred carrots and potatoes, marrow of the lamb shanks erupting from a split in a scorched chop bone, moon white and smoking over cinders. You tip your brown fly-bitten neck back to see them tumble upward into the silent strings of the zodiac. Its icy coals lamp our vast trenched blue bull. The Sagittarius arm still a creamy band of molten star flesh here so far from any city. Galaxes, milk from Hera's pap, infant Hercules squalling like a loon in the long dark. You rise to warm yourself before the flame. We join there as we joined earlier in the lake's black pulp. Galaxis, the word I taught you, fingered to heaven. Galaxis, soft on your lips. I named the goddess of the temple you built in my ear, Galaxis, and we said it together, Galaxis, like a prayer, Galaxis, like the cries of crows, of coyotes, of locusts, of fornicating frogs, Galaxis. Out of the unified kingdom of matter, we cried, Galaxis, Galaxis, Galaxis.
So Dan Kessler showed up and he says, I'm a painter, but I'm reading poems today. So Dan's next.
So first I have a poem that Shane wrote, and I'm going to read it. And I think it's a good idea to read other people's poems. Why not? We should have an event, actually, where everyone just reads each other's poems, because it's good to hear your stuff in someone else's voice, right?
Yeah, hold on. Dan mostly wrote it.
So I wrote the poem, and I actually recited it here, and he rewrote it, and he's like, here, this is better.
That was not the order of events.
So, and I have a couple of things I want to pick at with you, and then I'll read my poems, which are in here, and talk about those. See what you think. So he titled this Bathsheba and Uriah, and I don't remember what I titled it. Who steps into the water to wash her pits and limbs, the crevices between her toes? Whose knees now floating like two cranberries? Who holds his pecker in his hand to piss? Remember that, right? My love, he says, don't drown yourself in the tub like Dolores O'Riordan did. Dear, I would never, she replies. Woman soaking in the tub like this, her knees so very lovely, floating like two cranberries, and the man too, so very like this. How he holds his pecker in his hand to piss and says precisely these things. So her reply, their exact embrace in the steam from the surface of the bath. Thank you, Shane. All right. Shane's a professional, just so you know. Shane's a professional. So this is one here. Okay. Mitch, you heard this before. It's called the zipping fly. Black fly, 2 days old. Nothing to tie that fellow down. Floating through leaf-dappled air, floating through smoke, lusty, from pond to pond, from henhouse to henhouse, the little black fly. All that wild applause. This is called a forest. This doesn't have a title. Let's call it a forest scene. I call a lot of poems, see, I almost said paintings. I call a lot of poems just something seen. A forest scene. Wet grass and wild boar, hoarfrost on haystack. A sea scene. Boat hurries, port to port, late again. A snow scene. Wind, then no wind, then sun through clouds. A traveling scene. I did not suffer smallpox, typhus, or cowpox. Christmas at sea. Snow falls this way and that onto gray waves. A final scene. Sea shines back through winter night, clouds rushed by gale. Will I be home in time for a warm bed?
Next up, we got Ronan.
Ronan.
I met Ronan really recently. He's one of Russell Thorburn's former students, and really good, sharp guy. So, Ronan, thanks for coming out, man.
This first one is called, well, I would call it a bastard sonnet, to borrow from Dennis Richardson. He's a great Lansing poet. He actually helped me out a little bit with this, so I'll call it a bastard sonnet. It's called Suburban Still Life. Somewhere, there's a lawnmower running. Colonial homes line the lean jaws of domesticity. Fenestrations that make faces which stare out the cul-de-sac. If the tack front doors could talk, they'd exclaim what lovely weather we've been having. Their red tongues licking the American veneer of white fences, golden Labradors, and cleanly cut hedges. Blue sedans next to basketball hoops, which stand like monuments to the suburban sprawl in each driveway. Barbecues waft smells of content pleasure which floats over the manicured lawns and two-car garages. The unmistakably blank scent of middle management success. Children are biking down the streets, the ribs of repose. This milieu, this idyllic land of lemonade and verdant consumption, it's all enough to make you say fuck it and start up your lawnmower.
Nick Romby's up here.
What?
I got you guys.
Oh, thanks, John. So, what?
Oh, thanks, John.
What would you have said?
I would have cussed at him.
She would have.
I know, yeah. Last summer, I was driving down to visit my cousin in Kentucky. She has a little farm outside of Lexington. And on one of the overpasses, there was spray painted a phrase, "I OK DB." And it kind of, I interpreted the phrase as "I'm okay DB." When I talked to her about it, she said, well, I could have meant I OK signed a DB. Anyway, the thing of it was she said, well, you know who DB is. I don't know if anyone's from Kentucky, and I was like, well, what? No. She said, well, Daniel Boone. And she said, Daniel Boone, it's a thing in Kentucky. She lives in like Transylvania, this place where apparently he left some markings. I thought Daniel Boone was not real. So I was like, but then she said Davy Crockett. So she cleared that up and said, no, it's, back in the day, there are things in caves that like, I killed a bar, DB. So she said it's a rite of passage in high school or whatever to like leave. Now some of these DB things are real, like authentic, like he really did scrawl that, but a lot of them teenagers do. So she said everybody in high school like scrawls, like I was here, like a Kilroy was here, DB. But I thought it touched me in a way. I was like, I okay. I wondered why not like I'm okay. I read it as like I'm okay, DB. And I couldn't shake it. So this is a really short one. I okay DB. I okay DB, writing from the other side of the turning stars. You need not worry, DB, about me, though no green ferns unfurl anymore inside their little worlds, if that's a trouble for you. Us and our little wet sins folded all together now in the dales of that Kentucky farm. But just don't look up, DB. Those stars we counted on in their firm holdings, Father's hands have undone. And they are falling now, and God is the black sky, DB. Take cover, DB. Take cover. I feel like some poems, like the intro is more interesting than the poem. Like that one. So this one, so I taught at a Jesuit university for 31 years and never went to confession. Raised as a Baptist, you know more. Are you Catholic, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, and so I've always been fascinated with confession, and I thought at some
You
point.
came to my wedding, man.
I know, yeah.
Father Kelly officiated it. You know I'm Catholic.
I tried to create at Detroit Mercy some sort of scheme in which I would be forced or asked to take confession. I'm fascinated with it, but the Jesuits are really, really nice, and when you try to like rub them the wrong way, they just keep falling into their kindnesses. Even if you say like, "Boy, you've cleaned up your image," you know, in a while they'll say, "Well, we had some problems with the Inquisition." I have been raised with the word Jesuitical, you know, and thinking this is a really bad thing, and then I come to Detroit Mercy and find that they're really wonderful people. But the confession thing bothered me. I've been fascinated with it, having only seen it in The Omen and The Exorcist and things like this. I associate it with something terrifying. And I never was asked to do confession. I don't even do Jesuits do it. I'm not sure if that's a part of that.
I'm not sure either.
You know, if there's a schism or something. So this is what I would do, I suppose. If the priest or whatever just said confess, this would be my confession. So I didn't swerve for the cat. Funny. All right. I preached, "Let the chips fall where they may, yet never led a life that let the chips fall where they may." I coveted the line, "Something for your poetry, no," from Carolyn Forshay's The Colonel. I did not speak up for Forshey when Mary Ann Salmon mocked her author's photo as Cal and I walked her across campus that cold spring afternoon. The line was too long, and I did not pay for my copy of Robert Haas's collection, The Apple Trees at Olima, after his reading at the Michigan Union in 2012. After a reading, I didn't correct a question from an audience member that began, "Since you're from Detroit." Amanda Hyber's husband called me out on that. Yeah.
Nice.
I once said I, too, had read Charles Olson's The Maximus Poems, A Lie to Win a Girl. I'd never heard of the Maximus Poems. I praised a student's out-of-control story about dragons and how they mate, so as not to have to discuss it with her. I unfollowed a... Well, I'm going to skip that one because that's kind of nasty. I'm not going to do it. I choose back rooms over obsession. But I think I could do the obsession over back rooms, but... I have fallen for both trammel and trumbull. The fog comes on little cat feet, the opening line to a poem, circa 1916, by Carl Sandburg, my mother's favorite poet, whose name still stirs in me a quivering, as tiny as the beating of a cricket's heart. I choose to hide my love for Thomas Ligotti, for fear of being seen as too genre-y. I've not corrected an assumption that I'm more familiar with Dennis Cooper's work than I am. I've wasted too much time trying to convince the dental hygienists in my study of fiction class that the father in the George Saunders story, The Semplica Girl Diaries, is not a figure to be mocked, or judged, or pitied for his wrong-headed decisions, but to be loved. At a promotion and tenure committee meeting, I did not call foul when I saw the candidate had listed her letters to the editor in the Detroit News in the, quote, peer-reviewed publications section of her CV, because her ally, who would be judging me when it was my turn to come up for promotion, was sitting across from me. I hung out the Robies is in a Zoom meeting sign on my campus office door dozens of times during office hours, so I could just stay in there quietly thinking of nothing. I wept in the pew of York Minster in England last spring. I've not reached out to a former colleague and friend in Waterloo, Canada, whose sister passed last year. On the way to the Imperial on Woodward Avenue several years ago, in the car with a university colleague, I gave money to the man under the bridge because I was in a car with a university colleague. I have dined on caviar. I have been persuaded by Gary Steingart to spend 4 paychecks on a fine watch, handcrafted in Germany, that gives me a rash. I loved our Persian rug less when I learned that vintage was not the same as antique. I swerved for the dog. Thanks.
So I think it's time to get our first feature up here. Mitchell Vicarelli. And, Mitch is a very principled person. It really is, and like we had an experience down the road. It was kind of bullshit, and Mitch called it out in a very calm and thoughtful way. And Mitch will also, like, if you have beer at a party, he will drink all of it. I was at Dan Kessler's once, and Dan went to get one of the beers he bought, and they were all gone because Mitch drank them all.
There was like 25 of them, too.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I was really happy Mitch agreed to do this thing, and I'm excited to hear his set. So please welcome Mitchell Vicarelli to the stage.
Well, thank you, John. It's true, that was bullshit across the street. I learned public speaking in church, so I kind of have to have like a pulpit kind of deal here. I want it all the way up. The first poem I was going to read was for Dan Kessler, but I showed it to him and he said it sucked. So then I showed it to Shane and he said it sucked. So we're not going to read that one first. All poems proceed from women, so we were going to read a poem about a lady first. It's called Sheep. I'm in the midst of a razor scowl and storming. As I catch her eye, she makes herself small. Seeing what I'll do, I soften, smile, and stop. I do have one. I think all poems kind of, in my opinion, need to be written to somebody, maybe not to somebody in particular, but as long as that feeling is there that it's written to someone, that one-to-one communication is happening, you start to have a poem on your hands. This one is for Shane. I sent Shane all the poems I was going to read, which now the order's totally messed up and I'm just going to be reading whatever. But I didn't send him this one. This one's for Shane. This is based on something he said to me one time. It's called Didactically as if to a crawdad. You have not antennae, crustaceous dupe, to excuse your conduct. You fell for some paltry cup trap. I tell him all the time he needs to write more didactically. Get on him about that. If anybody has a right to it, I think it's Shane. He's got a good disposition for it.
Telling people what to do.
I think so. I can't do it. I can't tell people what to do. That would come across very harsh, I think.
I got you.
Thank you. I too have a Tonka. I wasn't planning on reading it, but now that it's topical, I love Tonka, love haiku. We'll have some haiku later in the night. But I have a Tonka. I'll read you a Tonka here. I was gonna put up a stopwatch for time, and I forgot to do that. Hold on.
Hey Mitch, why don't you tell people what a Tonka is?
You already did. You weren't listening.
Damn.
I'm not gonna read her. I'm not gonna step on my man's thing here. But I'll read a Tonka for you. I did stick to the harsh syllable count, but her daughter my age, we would play about the yard. Husbandry I now, watches instead a rooster, kept to her hens by wire. Another one I wasn't going to read that I'm now going to read because we just had the poem about confession. I had a period where I was reading the confessional poets, mostly Sylvia Plath and Anne Sexton, crazy ladies. Plath, pretty good. Anne Sexton, didn't get it. This one's to Anne Sexton. Hope she found some kind of peace somewhere. It's called A Profession. Reaching always towards within, squeezing always through between your fingers, leaving always only entropy as sign of life, as if crumpled papers make a poet, as if sweat the fruits of labor. O person who produces yourself, mechanic, who never fixes a thing, but who degums his nails intently.
We're kind of at the halfway point. Does anybody need to get a refill on a drink or something? Should we take? Yeah, Steve Hughes needs a drink. So we'll take about like 5 minutes for a bar call, and then after that we're gonna get Steve, who's not Steve Hughes, who had
Steve.
this. Yeah. So yeah. So go get a beer at the bar, and then we'll start up in about 5 more minutes. So.
Why did you just nod yeah as soon as Jennifer said
Yes, we got a few more open micers. We got our buddy Vincent in town tonight, which is really exciting. But please welcome Steve up to the mic.
Everybody, I'm Steve Brown. I'm a Metro Detroiter, but I'm from Kalamazoo for about the past 10 years. I've gotten to know Book Suey and some people here, so it's a real thrill to get involved with y'all. Thanks for having me. So I'll do a portrait poem. I'll dedicate this to Kat because it's a Flint poem. So this is titled Cam. Imagine Cam restored to himself as a young man of 15, falling in love for the first time with drinking before football games and learning from his coach how to freebase cocaine. Imagine a man with teeth, not sunken cheeks, with crisp words, not words slurred from loose flesh or drink, his body no longer standing in its own way. It can be moving to help him stand, a man who once towered 6'5" and positioned Buick transmissions by hand, his pockets full of blonde numbers, red pills, and green bills. We share only Flint and alcoholism. Maybe, he says, he saw my parents driving me home one December evening in 1980 from Hurley Hospital, me wrapped in a blanket, looking up for the first time into my mother's eyes against the wildness of night. Him wrapped in a blanket, looking up from the floor of an unheated flophouse, alone in a room so full of people the door would not open. Now, his bony hands with caved flesh are useless, even to stand himself up for his favorite, the Lord's Prayer. His hands rest on the edge of the worn wood meeting table. A vein as plump and purple as a nightcrawler pulses over the cable-taut tendon of his thumb. We share this too, pulsing, purple, pulsing. My unaccountable being here, he calls it. Our stars have realigned. His puffing breath presses past slack, cracked lips. His long stubble is worn like an animal suit around the shock blue of his eyes that cry out from within his ruined words, his ruined kidneys. His life and name are ruined, except among men who know him as willing, helpful, needing help, and waiting to see if his death is rescued in perfect some evening, and if he is restored to himself after all. Thanks.
Thank you, Steve. Next up, we got David Kuhnlein, who has been a feature at this series before, so it's always good to have him back. So please welcome David.
So for those of you who I didn't talk to before the event, I've got this bandage on my leg. In early May, I got bit by a brown recluse spider. I was in the hospital for 4 nights. And the 4th night I was in there, it was like an insurance issue. I was like pretty upset that I had to still be there. I was like 2 miles away from my dogs. So I wrote this really mean story, and I'm going to share it with you. So it's a little rough. I'm still thinking about the ending, so Dan or anybody who, if you want to tell me what you think, I'm open. It's a story called Darling Recluse. I started minuscule, thinner than a strand of venom, my compendium of bacteria. Nurses didn't come unless called, chirping at me from their hidey holes in the hallway. I muted an idiot physician mid-sentence, droned into the remote, stethoscope ligaturing him to the ceiling. They tried dragging an admission from me, a lesson they hoped I had learned. Listen to God, shit, I said. I once documented a brown recluse in captivity who lived for years without a meal. Amazing how little she needed. I felt a sterile kinship with her, life in a small boat on the Rio Negro, spun between kitchen and lab, studying arachnids on the bank. The first bite ran a shower over my life. I drank things in with 3 sets of eyes. Bree was her name, she insisted, pushing antibiotics through a port in my forearm from the opposite side of the bed. A reach I would not pardon, smelling girl across the hospital, thick brown hair ribboning my fingers. Her breath moved her scalp like I was playing with the remainder. My blood, I thought, had been infected just for this. I punctured every glove above the sink, 1 pin-sized hole from Miss Nurse's bobby pin, undetected by her caffeinated glare. Your call light is on, a voice declared from the remote. Yes, my leg is on fire. Please ring Bree, I croaked. Their meds were watered down. I bobby-pinned open a blister. Thin yellow pus played across my fingers. Friendly with doorknobs, towels, light switches, I wheeled through rooms, spreading my sight. An X-ray tech had beamed my rashy legs, captured them worse. He'd never heard of ionized radiation causing harm. That was the last we spoke. There was some didactic confusion about the articulation of my tibia. His mandibles whirred on. Everyone's pain claws at them different. Silence doesn't mean I'm not beyond the bounds of sanity. Up close, a spider's leg resembles a paw, but it's more a sensory instrument, picking up subtle changes in the air. Perfumed doctors had me figured. My wound, the size of a hand purpled by heat, developed striations of charred blister. Center mass, a pupil, erupting blood-slick cilia. My darling and I would perform this decay across the Midwest, pushpin maps on the wall of my apartment. I didn't want anyone's get well card. There were holes in their emojis. No return to work had been planned. Life with a spider. She threaded and treaded me, tarsal claws like 8 grains of sand inside a footprint. We owned a crusted graveyard of ticks extracted from their meal. The sponge baths here go on too long, I would announce. My insurance company only covers so much. The hatred's mutual. More surgeries, please. Med me up. Who needs to dream? Yesterday, a girl visited. White sandal straps, blue nail polish, tattoo of a broomstick. She danced in the infirmary, fanned out a vegan lunch. She asked if speech was a possibility for me, then sat down and began monologuing. Her bedbug apartment, no exterminator, moving back in with a strict mom. I imagined wrapping her thighs and elbows in silk, then as husks being breakfasted upon. Between the two of us, we had 8 limbs. I used to drive home from work, shivering on purpose to complement the sound of rain on the roof of my car, one of us intimated. A captive audience, wretched from woe. Finally able to stand again, I looked out the window all night. Lights went on and off, televisions buzzed, but I saw no one, not even a reflection. Thank you.
Next up is Kat Batsios. He came here all the way from Troy, Michigan, too.
Yeah, man, what a fucking drive. 75 sucks this time of day. Thanks, man.
Alright, so this poem, Freeman, you've already received it in an email. I wanted to read it today. This is some brand new shit. I want to see how it played because put this in your calendars. Thor's Pack is going to be releasing a chapbook this fall.
Did you tell Ronan?
Yeah, I did. I got his email. No, I'm sorry. It's an inside joke. It's not very funny. Till you see the chapbook. June. Blue moon put the gem in Gemini season, more opulent than wreck. Lateral spiral of chaos I recognize only when you name it, a constellation of gratuity for our continuing, for our nested hands over our mouths instead of each other, instead of flame. I feel embered or hand sculpted and tossed from a burning building, radiant in volatile heat, dream cool touch for fused shape. Am I a whole body or a theoretical skeleton, your head buried in my bones? Melt like 5 days after the full moon, Psyche leaves a body that Eros hasn't touched. Put the gems in your mouth like pop rocks. Let them crack and melt like June. Let's start in the middle. Richard Manuel came into the bookshop. He sang, "Who robbed the cradle, who robbed the grave," as he made a table and altar. He put his arm around a skeleton. I made him shoes of emerald ice, adorned his hands with rings of Saturn. I said, "Go up to Kelly's where all the poets are at. If you see Steve Hughes, tell him the Suey provides, and make your comeback in the next stupor. Or be the toy train people mover, be the salacious song on a loop, all aboard for the Dyke Train self-centered song of fuck words and content warning, the end, content warning, dancing, content warning, dead children, but content warning, it's okay to laugh because content warning, we love you. Oh hey daddy, you obedient missionary. The emperor's new clothes are a solar flare, double bubble on a tall rack of daylight. Make an empty building blush. Make the church's toes curl like a crescent moon or gas station fireworks overhead. Make it home okay. I have this object in my hand. Even when you lose a piece, every hole retains meaning. I made it to fit in your back pocket. Who doesn't need some lipstick for their ass? Maybe you swing by here and wait for Joy with me. I passed her on the way in, close enough to touch. Before you leave, before you go, just go. I'll figure out what I wanted to say later. Nest in what my body wants to be, probably too late, probably too ripe. All the strawberry moons plucked before the end of June. I passed Joy on the way in, so I know she's not me. She probably drives better. She probably said, hello, thank you, goodbye, concisely, in that order. Ode to Joy, ode to June. Don't be surprised if your insides leak out when you spend time with someone you love. Joy comes expeditiously, leaves us no time. Leaves make shapes on my hands as I let go slowly. Unobstructed sun might expedite results.
Next up is Steve Hughes, who heroically and brilliantly guest hosted this series last month and has been making all our flyers. People have been complaining about me tonight. They're like, "You're not Steve Hughes. You're not nearly as witty or interesting."
Was throwing chairs at people when they took too long. You just let people talk.
All right, but anyway, Steve Hughes is getting up here to read.
Did you throw chairs at people?
What's that?
Did you
I throw chairs? Yeah, I threw a lot of chairs.
We knocked over some tables.
And you kept putting your thumb in people's beer.
Right, yeah, I did that. It was fun. Yeah, that's the first time I ever showed up in a poem. Thanks, Kat, that was cool.
Hey.
I like being in your poem.
Hey.
Yeah. So I have two summer poems. They're both hangover poems. And this one is a backyard hangover poem called Bloody Mary Sunday. We wake to rain, its slow tap on the AC unit, and rise with a temple gripping, whoa. Reach for the wall and stagger through the kitchen, where we open a window, locate survival supplies, V8 and vodka, stir in horseradish, 10 shakes, Louisiana hot sauce, snap the necks of celery, and finish with incinerated bacon from days of yore. While Cass grabs the glasses, balances the pitcher, I towel dry the chase, loungers. Together, we recline side by side, we hook pinkies, hers to mine. When she notes my robe is open, I can't keep track of everything. Apparently, the most important part of me is allowing itself a little air. No one wants to see that, she says. I recognize that it's not pretty, this prehistoric toadstool, this flesh-toned thingamajig, which now stands upright, presenting itself as the arrow of my compass, angling for her north. She ignores my request for a quickie, pours drinks, and says, too bad there's not a junkyard for brain cells where we could get you a new set for cheap. I explain the obvious. My dead ones have already been reincarnated as mosquitoes or dandelion fuzz that drifts between us. Above the sky, flat above the sky, fattens its clouds. And sparrows in chatter mode rock the power lines, spot the yard, barely missing us. That's all hard on a hangover. Next you know it's raining again. Big drops, plunk our drinks, bend and flick the grass, all while we do nothing but allow ourselves a good rinse. Let it soak through our robes, paste them to our skin. A small stream trickles from her temple to cheek to chin and fills the dip at the base of her throat. It doesn't last, and soon the mosquitoes take a run at us, one rickety thing hovering between the drops, lifts on her breath, then lands, hair thin, with idiot thirst, and slips its needle just under her skin. I wait, sip my diluted drink, jealous for its gorging, when something flutters in my chest, maybe reclaimed heart cells from the U-wrenched junkyard of my body. I open my hand above her, hear myself swallow, breathe, then move to save her.
So it's time to get up our next feature. Vincent Perrone is a good friend to so many of us, and we've been missing him around here, but we're happy he's doing great things in Virginia. And Steve hit me up and was like, yeah, Vince is going to be in town, so we should definitely get him up to the Gaelic League in June. And I thought that was a good idea too. So please welcome Vincent.
Italian takeover.
Is that what this is?
I'm half Irish. Thanks, John. Thanks, Steve, for telling John. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Vincent, for coming.
It's really, it's really nice to be in this room with so many people that I admire, respect, envy. I liked what Dad said about reading other people's work. My friend today sent me a sound recording of a poem that she had written by reorganizing, by doing cut-ups basically of Audubon's journals. And she recorded herself reading them with like a strange kind of field recording of like crickets and trees, and I think like her opening the refrigerator. But there were many great lines in it. Audubon wrote them, but she arranged them in a way that I thought was quite great. And one of them was, "Pray friend, what have you killed? A skull with a single sentiment. What have you shot at? That which has been taken." Pretty good. I'm going to read the story that came out a couple months ago in Catamaran. It's called Jacket Variations. The coveted jacket was worn by your favorite actress 20 years ago in a middling but affecting film exhibited for $1 at the second run theater inside the mall, and seen one evening in the afterglow of shoplifting metallic eyeshadow with your best friend. As the two of you leaned into the screen, your pupils dilated to take in all the light, and when the credits rolled, you nuzzled into each other, wiping away tears with butter-soaked napkins, sparked by the unexpected intimacy. And from then, you'd been uncertain about what that connection meant, awkward in the flush of romantic ambiguity, and because that night at the movies was made electric in your mind, you thought it over for years, trying to understand the wobbly Venn diagram of lust and friendship and unrestrained admiration, realizing eventually that these things might not be separate. But by the time you'd realized that, you were already loading your parents' SUV off to college to pursue a degree in filmmaking. And because electricity must always move, you lost touch with her by the time you exited teenagerdom. Yet, you thought of her often as you directed short films in which women sometimes cried together in movie theaters. And despite your best efforts to write and direct original material, you find yourself 2 decades later in the present of the story, working as a key grip on the set of a streaming television remake of that very same film you'd once loved. And you decide to rewatch that very same film, you decide to rewatch the film again one night during production, and you're still astounded by the lead actress, her movements panther-like as she stalks around a rural graveyard with an ugly dog. But the film itself is stilted, riddled with cliché, and seems to equate romantic love with possession in a way that you find shameful and small-minded. Yet the next day on set, you walk into the costumer's trailer and discover an exact replica of the jacket you loved since the night in the theater. And while the costumer is out, you steal it. And though you're almost certain she sees you, she doesn't breathe a word as you skitter away from the trailer, and miraculously, the scene in which the lead was to wear it is struck from the script, so the jacket is never required. And when the shoot wraps a few weeks later, you try the jacket on in front of a mirror for the first time, and you do not recognize yourself in it. You see the young woman you'd sat next to in the theater, so you seek her out like an amateur detective. But there's no trail to pursue, no active address, or phone numbers, or digital footprints, and you think she might have changed her name or run off to join an Amish community, and you know that even if you were to find her, the jacket would mean very little to her after all these years in which you haven't spoken, because, as the actress states in the film's dire and overwrought conclusion, life is not a strange reunion with the past, but instead the past imposing itself in new ways on the present. Yet still, weeks later, you receive a phone call from an unfamiliar number, and when you answer, you hear a voice that reminds you of your long-lost friend. And it takes several minutes of unwieldy innuendo before you realize it is the costumer asking you out for a drink. And you know you will meet her. The only question is whether you'll wear the jacket. You purchase a second-hand jacket and discover a set of photographs in the interior pocket and cannot help but detect a mystery. A mother and her 2 boys, all 3 faces looking in separate directions, posed on a street below a sign for the fish market, which you recognize from your commute to and from a high-paying job as a marketing consultant, a job you just resigned from after the firm took on a military contract, and now, being unemployed and perhaps less delighted than you'd expected to be after making a bold, ethical stand, you take the photos into the fish market and inquire about the mother and the 2 children. Who are they? Why are their faces inside your jacket? And you receive an address, a location to an unfamiliar part of town, and the following evening you find yourself wandering desolate streets until a kindly old man with an ugly dog, the man would not be kindly were he to have a handsome dog, you think, offers to guide you to the apartment. And it's only upon arriving at the doorstep that you realize the man is blind, and despite being shaken and discomfited, you knock on the door, which opens to reveal a woman a few decades older than the photograph. And she welcomes you into her apartment, which is warm and sparsely furnished, and on the mantel you note 2 American flags folded military style, in offer of condolence to the next of kin, and you know her sons are dead. And so you show her the photographs in your pocket, and while examining them, her face takes on the youthful quality it possessed in those very pictures you'd spent the week rubbing between your fingers. That's to say, her face contains enigma and recognition, is a photograph itself, a stilled and endless archive. And when she asks, "Whatever made you look for us?" you try to tell her about your work, about your lack of work, about your own sons, gone but not dead, living for you in photographs mailed out every September by their mother without fanfare. But the woman only nods placidly and says thank you until you show yourself out. And as you exit the apartment, a man walks by you, coming the other way down the hallway. And though his face is aged and scarred, he does resemble one of the children from the photograph. But there were 2 burial flags on the mantel, and so you decide this is the 3rd son, the one who took the picture. How lucky, you think. How fortunate to have another child waiting in the wings. And because you've been staring at him, he'll pause and look past your eyes down the zipper of your jacket and say, "Hello, brother." A face appears from the aisle over, a new face with a nose like a trophy, and lovely enough to pull you away from the jacket you've been admiring. And the face is convincing in the way it says, "Come with me," in so many words. And soon enough, you're at a bowling alley where the stranger drops the ball on their toe, and the subsequent hospital visit results in a bill for the exact same amount as the jacket you almost purchased. This story takes place in a country where hospital bills are sometimes equal to the price of jackets. And you're touched, you're intrigued, you're a little bit frightened, and weeks later you reunite for an evening of bar hopping. But a snowstorm is billowing above the city, and each time you arrive at a new bar, they're pulling down the shutters and locking the doors. And eventually, cold and sober, the snow falling in brilliant spheres, you arrive before an unlit brick front pub in a desolate neighborhood where handsome dogs prowl behind chain link. And the stranger flops to the ground to make a snow angel on the asphalt and lies there until the flakes cover them like a downy coat, a little crestfallen as they begin to shiver. When suddenly, as though on cue to pull you away from this sad angel in the snow, an orange bulb comes to life inside the bar, beckoning. And so it's no surprise that you move in with the stranger. And in that first year of cohabitation, there are many losses to contend with: jobs, parents, contact lenses. And through these losses, the relationship becomes more complex. New means of connection and communication are formed, an entire language of monosyllabic utterances to explain concepts like, will we ever live under an economic system that does not feel like I'm leasing out every cell in my body? And I wish I could speak with the dead and hear something back that I don't already know. And please help me. I can't see a single fucking thing. And one night, as you and the stranger grunt at each other, they turn away, perhaps disgusted by the way they've lost their own language and become subsumed in this strange codependent tongue, and feeling the pressure of change well up inside their chest, looking at you with an incredulous stare, They decide to jet off spontaneously to a retreat for secular spiritualists, hoping to find themselves. A statement that strikes you as incoherent because you don't believe there's a self to find, and if there were one, it wouldn't be on the other side of the world. And so, you carry on in the routines you've built around a shared life until weeks later the routines fall away completely and you decide to leave the city, to take a trip of your own with the express purpose of losing yourself. Certainly there is a self to lose. And as you're packing your suitcase, the stranger arrives at your door in a way that feels like a film, a dream, a mystery. And in their hands is the jacket you would have bought had you not met them on a fateful winter's day, stared into their charming face and followed them off to this life. And when you put the jacket on, it won't fit at all, uncomfortably baggy in the arms and too tight in the shoulders and draping in a way that denies your body. I'm begging you. It's warm inside. Take off your jacket. Stay a while. Thanks.
Really good release for the Longfellow Review. I couldn't be there because I was playing with the codgers at a fucking go-kart track.
You just got to come to the next one, though.
But I heard it was a smoking good time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually a lot of people here who are featured in the magazine. I think Mitch, Kat, Jennifer, Steve, Dustin, John, Dan. That was great. Steve has a copy, if you want to hold that up and show everyone. That just launched. Yeah, that was awesome. We're opening submissions for our fall run July 1st, so we're looking for very autumn-oriented pieces that really capture Detroit and the Midwest and Michigan in general. We're accepting short stories, essays, poetry, and visual art. So our Instagram is Longfellow Review. And if you're not on Instagram, just come talk to me later and I'll give you my contact info if you're interested in submitting. That second person piece was sweet. I just read a novel in second person called Interior Chinatown that was... I've been thinking about second person a lot, so that was awesome. Kind of losing my train of thought now.
Magazine, colleague.
Magazine,
Autumn.
shout out, autumn.
Poem.
Second person, poems. That's where we're at. I've been super busy, so Tonkas, that's what it was. Tonkas are having a huge comeback right now in Japan. I just read an article about that, and it was cool hearing a bunch of them. So I wrote this poem like a year and a half ago. It's called Bumbo's Tonka Sandwich. And I wrote a tonka with a haiku in the middle of a tonka while I was super drunk at Bumbo's bar in Hamtramck. So, walk through drunken haze, ice sheet flows down a river, snow storms through the trees, nature froze in the moonlight, a wild tempest calls me. Snowflakes dance alone, Bumbo's patio whispers, burning cigarette. In snow's embrace I puff, Marlboro Red's warmth unfolds, whispers of solace, winter's chill meets tobacco, rejuvenation unfolds. Thank you. This next piece, I think is the last piece that I wrote in April. It's called Portrait of a Diplomat's Son. I'm doing a self-portrait oil painting right now and wrote this while working on it. A grain of sand slips down the geography of my scarred knuckles across the valleys of my fingerprints back into infinite grains of sand until I lose sight of it with my father's tired eyes. And as the sun pours over my mother's cold shoulders, some far-off child shouts from inside a hot, locked car, and then suddenly a gull flies overhead toward the North Green Sea.
All right, so I think our final reader tonight is going to be Elijah Sparkman.
What?
Yeah, good good friend to all of us, and he might share some thoughts on who the Pistons are going to sign with the $15 million that they gave up when they traded Isaiah Stewart. I think that's part of what you're going to do, right? Talk about that.
That's all he's going to talk about.
I'm not going to talk about that.
It's a misdirect.
Way to make me look like an idiot.
You didn't need me.
Jesus Christ. That's so mean. Man. Love you
too. Hey friends. Thank you. I'm a sports writer now. And I have a Substack, and you're welcome to follow me. It's called Halfback and Sparkle Motion. And I was gonna read some of it today. And this one was with a writing prompt. And I want you poets to try this. It was a prompt given to me by the local writer and educator, Peter Marcus. You know him?
No.
He who does anyone really know? But the prompt is, you have 12 paragraphs, and in every paragraph you have 12 sentences, and in every sentence you have 12 words. And in every paragraph you're only allowed to use the number 12 once. Sounds like a good sports blog prompt, right? So anyways, I'll stop talking. I'll just tell you that I played tennis with this person, Peter Marcus, and I tried to write a sports blog about the tennis experience in the prompt. But I added one Sparkman element, which was after the first sentence of 12 words, I was only allowed to use those 12 words the rest of the paragraph. So this is going to be complete and utter gibberish. But I love you guys. I'll just read on a few because I'm very considerate as well.
Thank you.
It's called After 12 Minutes of Tennis with Peter Marcus, My Racket Strings Broke. Which is true. After 12 minutes of tennis with Peter Marcus, my racket strings broke. 11 of Peter Marcus' strings with tennis broke after my racket minutes. 10 rackets after Peter of Marcus, my tennis with strings broke minutes. Peter of tennis broke after my 9 racket strings with Marcus minutes. Of 8 tennis rackets, my minutes broke after Peter with Marcus strings. Marcus after Peter broke. Oh, fuck. Marcus after broke Peter 7 tennis, my strings of minutes with racket. 6 my of with Peter racket, Marcus strings after minutes tennis broke. Marcus 5 broke my width of strings minutes after Peter racket tennis. Tennis racket Peter after minute strings of width my broke for Marcus. Broke tennis, Marcus 3, Peter after my racket of minutes with strings. 2 Peter tennis, my after of Marcus strings, minutes broke my width. With my broke minutes, strings, Marcus of after my tennis, Peter 1. 11. I was counting down in my paragraphs because I thought I would do 12. I only did 5. See if you could do better than that, poet. You're a cool poet. Did you go to NMU?
I do not yet.
Go Wildcats. Get your head in the game. Gotta get you. 11. We watched KC and Cass Tech play baseball at the baseball field. Baseball watched baseball play KC Tech, and we at the field. Watched field Cass, we at KC play Tech, and baseball the baseball. Baseball Tech, and we baseball. The field KC at play Cass watched. Cass and KC watched we Tech play baseball at field the baseball. We field the baseball at Cass Tech, and KC watched baseball play. I can't look at you guys slyly when I read this one like I usually do. We play watched at the field Cass Tech baseball and KC baseball. KC baseball play at Tech Field watched we baseball and the Cass. The Cass and baseball we watched Field Tech get play baseball KC. The baseball field watched Cass Tech play we and KC at baseball. At Tech played field baseball and we watched KC Cass the baseball. Baseball, the Cass, KC watched we and baseball field played at 12. I'll just do one more. And this is a very, if you do know the local writer and educator, Peter Marcus, this is particularly Marcusian, John. 8. The fishing lure must be vertical, not horizontal, for fish to eat. The man told me that, because the tennis racket broke and we just hung out, walked in a circle. The eat fish, lure fishing, be not must horizontal to for vertical. The horizontal fish eat fishing must vertical lure for to be not. Not fishing eat the bee fish, lure for vertical horizontal to must. The must eat fishing vertical fish, lure horizontal for to not be. Bee fish lure for the eat vertical horizontal must not to fishing. The must horizontal lure fish fishing to be vertical not eat for. The for fish vertical eat must to lure horizontal be fishing not. Not to be fishing fish lure the vertical for horizontal must eat. Lure eat not fishing to be the vertical fish for horizontal must. The fish must eat for the fishing lure horizontal vertical to be. Be 12 fish fishing to vertical the horizontal lure for eat must. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, follow my book. And I might talk about Isaiah.
That's actually the name. He was not fucking with you. That is the name.
It's called Half Back.
In Sparkle Motion.
Yeah.
That's the name.
Hey, huge thanks to everybody who came out and read. One more time for Mitchell Vicarelli. And one more time for Vincent Perone. And one more time for everybody who got up on the mic. Steve Hughes, thank you for making the flyer. And Dustin Pearson, thank you for recording the reading. Next month is going to be the fourth Thursday of July. We're going to get Nick Rombies and J.L. Mutri are going to be the two features, so it's going to be a really good one. So hope to have you all back. And how about for Melissa back there behind the plate? Thank you, Melissa. Make sure you tip her well. This is last call, so get one last pint. Thank you guys all for hanging out.
Thank you, guys.
All right. So this is the bit. We're just doing we're waving. All right, that's good enough. Go for it.
But why did they cut this out? Well, they did a preface. They had somebody new write a foreword or something. So I don't know. I'm gonna try to find Alan's email and ask him because I'm also in awe